Well, hey, everybody. Oh, welcome to the PopzCast. I'm Pops. For those that are new with us, or just joining us for the first time, or you're seeing us for the first time, welcome. We are glad to have you. So glad you tuned in with us. Now, Hollywood woes or Hollywood go? Which one are we doing? Well, we found out a few things while I was researching for this. Now, we all know about the Snow White fiasco that just happened, right? The live action. Okay, I think that was about half expected out of everybody. What we didn't expect was for the star of the big star of the film to go off the rails, so to speak. But what are you going to do, you know? I think that set things back quite a bit. But we're talking about before that, right? We're talking about before that. And what's been happening since even before the pandemic in Hollywood. Several years ago, Hollywood got on this kick of, okay, we can do these reality shows, right? It's cheap, easy to make, done. You know what I mean? They're not working anymore, right? I got news for you, Hollywood execs. They're not working anymore. How do I know that? Because I did some research as I was going for this, series that we're doing. We're doing 2 in this series, this week and next week. No, it was, they're not working at all, right? You have no viewership on them. And what viewership you do have on them is just, people who come in and there's absolutely nothing for them to watch. And I mean, that's just simple fact. 90% of the viewers of those are people who come in and just have nothing to watch. You got about a 10% viewership that's loyal to the show. But what happened in film and what have you? Episodic television. You got a couple of shows that are on Law and Order, for instance, that's got a pretty substantial viewership, and they're loyal to the show, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Matter of fact, I think that's great because it's one of the few shows on television right now that has that loyal of viewership. I'm not a fan myself, but that's beside the point, right? Yeah, so what happened? Well, a lot of things happened. I was, as I said, when I was researching for this, I came up on some interviews and some things, and I came up on one that was talking to a director. Pretty well-known director and actor. And they asked him about it. He said, listen, he said, here's the thing with Hollywood right now. It is cheaper for me because of regulations, taxes, everything else, right? Regulations, taxes, hiring, who I have to hire, how many I have to hire, this, that, and the other. He said, it's cheaper for me to load all the cameras and things up on a plane and head to Georgia, say, for instance, to film a 2-hour movie than it is for me to jump over to the Fox lot and make it. So as a matter of fact, he can put everything on that plane and take his base crew, DP and, the director of photography and, sound and whatever, and they can go make the movie in Georgia, for instance, rather than going to Fox. He said it'll be about $3 million cheaper $3 to $5 million cheaper per film to do that. And that's just here in the United States, right? He said, now if you go, say, to Ireland or Australia or whatever to make the film, he said it'll very likely be even more than that you'll save. And I'm like, wow, that's just crazy. Well, why is that? Well, number one, taxes, the regulatories, because in Hollywood, as he said, you have to hire X amount of people and you have to do it through, SAG or what have, and you have to pay these contract fees, plus you have to pay the actual salary, plus you have to pay the taxes, plus you have to pay the state taxes, plus the city taxes, the county taxes. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So a lot of people are going to Georgia. Like he said, they're going to North Carolina, they're going to Ireland, they're going to England, they're going to, Now here's the deal with that, right? The president has now introduced a idea. It's not a bill, it's not a law, anything like that. An idea to tariff movies made outside of the U.S. Here's the thing, he's not talking about K-dramas and things like that are going on to Netflix and Amazon, stuff like this. He's talking about American movies that are made, and they're bringing them back in to do them. Because he wants to make Hollywood great again. Well, that's great, but in order to make Hollywood great again, you've got to get rid of the regulatory crap that is causing everybody to leave and make movies elsewhere. Right? In other words, you got to change everything at the top. The brass, as we called it in the military. You got to change the brass. You can't, with them in charge, you can't do it right now. And I'm talking about from the governor down. Because and I have friends that live in California, right? I have family that lives in California, actually. And they pay a lot of money every year to live there. And when I say a lot of money, I mean a lot of money. Which I understand that some cities are more expensive than others. New York and LA being two of them. We all know that. It is what it is. And that's okay. But when you're trying to work, right, and you got, say, hairstylists that work pretty much strictly on films and stuff, this is affecting them too. It's not just affecting the actors and directors and what have you. This is affecting them too. This is their living, right? So you got to get rid of things at the top first. You got to talk to them and say, look, you got to axe some of these, regulations and taxes and things like that so people can actually work. Now, I'm not saying get rid of all of them. I'm saying you got to bring it down. You got to bring it down big or you're going to lose. And they're losing right now. I'll give you an example. Last week, when I was getting ready for this, I looked just out of curiosity at the my Netflix top 10, right? Netflix has that top 10 on there. And at the time I looked at it, this is what you had on there. You had a cooking show. It's actually a baking show, but okay, which is okay. I like those too, right? I found some good recipes on those, by the way. You had 2 documentaries, 4 older shows, 1 older movie, and 2 K-dramas. Well, older shows and older movie. Well, if we got all this going on in Hollywood that's supposed to be this big time thing, we should have new Hollywood hits on there, right? That ain't what's there. At least it wasn't when I looked at that. Now, what's coming out of Hollywood that I want to see? Well, there's a couple coming out that I want to see, actually. The last Mission Impossible. Because I like that series. It's a good action series, a lot of fun. You know. And there's one in the John Wick series called Ballerina coming out that I want to see. Personally. Now, where does that leave us? It leaves us in a Hollywood woe right now. And I mean woe like, oh, I don't mean like whoa, like stop. I mean whoa, like, oh. Right? Because now in the pipeline, they've got more remakes that they're talking about, reboots, remakes that they're talking about doing. I mean, come on. Didn't you learn from that last one? You know? Or the last few? They're not working. Got to get some scripts in there and take some chances again like Hollywood used to see if something's going to work and stick. You can't reboot something like Die Hard, which is in the pipeline, by the way. Why, I don't know. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. You know? And expect it to make, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. It ain't going to do it. You got to stop with that. You got to take some chances on original material. Now, I did see this year they had one original that came out that did pretty dang good at the box office called Sinners. I don't know anything about it. I haven't seen it. But I know it wasn't filmed in Hollywood because I know, and I know that for a reason, because part of where they filmed it at was right here where I am. Just about 20 miles from here. 25. That's where they filmed part of it at. They filmed part of it in Baton Rouge. They filmed part of it in a few other places around the United States. None of it was done in Hollywood, from what I understand. And that's what I'm talking about. If you want people back on the lots and you want people working again and you want to make good entertainment for everybody, you got to start up here. You got to start in the offices up here at the top. You know, a director can't do that. A grip or a showrunner, they can't do that. The only ones that can do that is the brass up here. You got to fix it, or you're going to be in more than a woe. You're going to be in a slump so bad you're not going to be able to get anything made in Hollywood. Everything's going to move to, you know, Seoul and Tokyo and, you know what I mean? That's where all your entertainment's going to come out of. Now, if you look at reaction channels on YouTube, right, and you look at what they're doing on their Patreons, I know because we do the same thing. Of course, we're an all-request channel, right? Our channels are all request. So the stuff we get requested, we do anyway. But 95% of what they're watching on their Patreons and things like that are K-dramas, C-dramas, J-dramas. They're coming out of Asia. Now, I'm just saying, I haven't had one, not one, American show recommended or requested to do on my Patreon. Not one. I've had competition shows from Asia. I've had movies and television from Asia. Variety shows from Asia, which are actually funny, by the way. Another thing you've got to do, you got to get funny back. I'm just saying. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that have to be done in order to get Hollywood back on its feet. And it all starts here, right? You're not going to get it done down in the mailroom. You got to get it done up top, up here. So Hollywood CEOs, brass on top. If you're listening, I would tell you to take some chances on some actual scripts. And I don't mean remake scripts. I don't mean reboot scripts. I mean actual, like, original scripts. Because another fiasco like Snow White, Hollywood may never recover. And that's the bottom line. Take that with what you will, but I see it every day. And I see what reactors are doing, and I see what going on Netflix, and I see what's going on Amazon, and what heck. The biggest shows are not coming from here. The biggest movies are not coming from here. You got to fix it. And if you don't, you're going to lose. And when I say lose, I don't mean, okay, we lost on that one. We lost $1 million on that one, or $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, whatever. I mean, you're going to lose your town. It won't be known as Hollywood anymore. It'll be known as L.A. And the movie industry and television industry will move. I know we have a huge studio here in Baton Rouge where I am, a couple hours away. They got a couple of huge studios in Atlanta. They got one in, I believe it's North Carolina or South Carolina. I don't remember which now. And there's a reason for that, because it's cheaper. Take that with what you will. I hope y'all have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will talk to you next week. We're going to talk about music next week. Stick with us. We're going to get good on that one, too. I'll see y'all later. We are out.